Texas baseball falls to their Red River rival.
Softball picks up some more wins this week.
All this and more on College Press Box. Welcome back to your favorite sports show on the 40 Acres. I'm your host, Amanda Atwell. With me today, I have Mathew Adams. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm pretty good, recovering from the weekend, all right, but...
Absolutely.
So today we have lots of baseball, softball talk, so let's get into it. Texas baseball took their 14th loss of the season against Lamar last Tuesday. Let's head to Dish Falk Field for the highlights. Starting off here, we have top of the ninth at Texas versus Lamar. Connor Mays, he gives up a line drive into left center with 2 runners on. Tyler Rand cannot handle it. Those runners get in, and it puts the Cardinals on top 4-2. Next batter up, shot into left center, deep left. Tyler Rand gets to this one this time, and Texas gets their last chance in the bottom of the ninth to get the win back. Tyler Rand at the plate again. He thinks he got a walk right here, but no, he's called out, and Lamar takes it 4-2, and Texas gets their 14th loss of the season. Our very own Eric Goodman was there to check out the action. Let's see what he has to say about the loss.
Texas came into Tuesday's game against the Lamar Cardinals riding their highest high of the season after taking 2 out of 3 games against the powerhouse TCU Horned Frogs. But whatever momentum Texas carried with them into Tuesday's game evaporated as Lamar held the Horns hitters to just 2 runs off 7 hits.
We have to do a better job recognizing pitches in those moments where the momentum shifts are important.
Jake Nash's 2-run single in the 9th was the deciding factor as Texas fell 4-2 and now find themselves 3 games below 500 for the season. It's a feeling that Longhorn fans have become all too familiar with this year. Excitement spurred by shocking upsets to top teams has consistently been dashed due to disappointing losses to teams that Texas would have been expected to beat.
It's difficult for me to be defensive about our team because they did so well.
Texas can take some solace in the fact that their non-conference schedule is now fully in the past and they can focus on mounting a challenge for a 2nd consecutive Big 12 title. For College Press Box, I'm Eric Goodman.
Texas baseball traveled to Norman for their 2nd conference series. After going 2-1 against TCU, one would have thought the Longhorns could take on the Oklahoma Sooners. However, Texas lost the first game 6-1 and won the second one 5-3. Then the final game, Texas was up in the 6th inning 3-1, but Oklahoma tied it up 3-3. And with a walk-off single by the Sooners, the Horns lost 4-3.
This weekend wasn't all bad for Texas baseball. Head coach Augie Garrido was elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame as a part of the 2016 induction class. In his coaching tenure, Garrido has led 5 teams to national championship titles and 15 teams to the College World Series. Garrido has also received National Coach of the Year honors 6 times. On March 25th of 2014, he earned his 1,893rd win to surpass Gordy Gillespie as the winningest coach in college baseball history. The induction will take place as a part of the annual Night of Champions celebration of college baseball in Lubbock on July 1st and 2nd. Today in the studio, we have our fantastic baseball analyst, Reese Miller. How are you doing, Reese?
Hey guys, doing great. Glad to be on with you and glad to see you both survive the weekend.
Yes, I'm very glad I survived the weekend. What about you, Matt?
Oh, I'm just glad I didn't have to face any of that and I could just enjoy college basketball.
Yes. Okay, so for our first topic, we have the ups and downs of this Texas baseball season. What do you have to say about that, Reese? This team, they just haven't been doing so hot this year. They're playing hot one week and beating number 6 TCU, and then they come back and do this against the Sooners. What do you have to say about that?
I think it's really perplexing. Texas came into this season ranked 23rd in the country. They had one of the best rotations, I think, in the Big 12. Many people, 3 out of the 12 voters, picked them to win the Big 12 conference. I think Texas has this season an knack for making the exact wrong play at the right time. Part of that has to do with their defense. 40 errors in 28 games, really uncharacteristic from an Augie Garrido coach team. They've also just lost really close, tight games. 4 losses after that OU loss on walk-off, last batter losses, and that kills the morale of a team. Closest losses like that where they give up leads, or against Texas A&M earlier on the Tuesday a couple weeks ago, fighting back with 4 runs in the 9th, then losing on a walk-off bomb the next batter. And the Aggie at bat, I think that has a lot to do inside the locker room. But you talked about it, it really is up and down. Decent start, then getting swept later in the year, then they take 2 out of 3 against TCU, and you're sort of thinking, wow, maybe they can make a run here in Big 12 play. Then Oklahoma, guys, they're not a very good baseball team. They're projected to finish one of the bottom 3 seeds in that Big 12, and Texas still couldn't win that series. So it's going to be extremely tough for them to start putting together a little resume here. It's starting to get to crunch time where they need to string together some wins to put together a resume to try to earn some kind of regional berth, or they'll be in the same situation they were last year where they had to win the Big 12 tournament to even get in the dance.
Yeah, definitely. What do you have to say about that, Matt?
Yeah, I agree with Reese on this team is definitely underperforming. You go into this season, you think with pitching rotation like Travis Duke, Chase Shugart, Connor Mays, you would think with a rotation like that they could get something going. Offensively, Tres Barrera has been getting going with some of those home runs. Even the Clemens brothers there with Casey and Cody, you would have thought would have provided a little spark, but there are too many small mistakes, and Augie Garrido's mentioned that. With a lot of these close losses, there are just little errors that get by them that for some reason they can't seem to fix, and they're just going down a very similar path as they did last season.
Definitely. So, Reese, what do you think this team needs to do going forward to fix these mistakes and maybe see beyond the regular season?
Well, it's going to be tough. They're going to have to start looking that way really immediately. I think the errors speak for themselves. They've made too many at the exact wrong time, as I said before, but this lineup has to start getting going. They've shown flashes here and there against that TCU series, which just makes no sense because the Frogs might have the best pitching rotation, at least in the Big 12, if not top 10 in the country. And Texas lit them up for several runs each night, had 5 in their only loss in that game. But Michael Cantu has got to start producing. I think that's a guy that Texas counted on coming into this year as a staple in the middle part of that lineup. Augie's kind of trying to figure out, should I sit him, should I play him? He's batting 187. He's played 25 games this year. I think that's a major hole in the lineup. And, guys, this bullpen just isn't cutting it. Chase Shugart's given up several leads this year, been better of late, but Connor Mays, since moving from the number 3 starter back into the bullpen as the closer's role, he's already blown 3 saves, guys. So I think the bullpen is key number 1 because they can't hold on to leads. And the offense is number 2. The rotation has really been okay. Kyle Johnson has been solid. Ty Culbreth has been okay. Morgan Cooper still working his way back from injury. You've also got Josh Sawyer in the mix there as well, either as a rotation guy or back into the bullpen. So a lot of moving parts for Texas, but the main thing is get that lineup going consistently, cut down on the errors, and the bullpen has got to step up.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, Reese hit on the head there with Michael Cantu. He has just been inconsistent, not only hitting, but in his decisions and player stealing bases, trying to get him out. He's made so many errors, particularly in that TCU game where he made 2 errors there trying to get the ball to Tres Barrera, and that ended up getting 2 scores there for TCU. I think that's still kind of an issue for Texas, Cantu being a catcher, Tres Barrera moving to third. He's been solid there, but naturally he wants to be a catcher, and for him not being back behind the plate, kind of helping direct some things, it's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, Matt, something I want to add on to that, as you mentioned, Cantu has been a bit of a different role this year, calling some pitches as well behind the plate. Tres Barrera, a lot more experience with that, and that's something with a young pitching staff, like a guy who gets rattled like Chase Shugart, sophomore, and Connor Mays. It's an interesting relationship with a young catcher sort of trying to develop that's struggling at the plate that can also transfer into the pitching staff.
Yes.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Reese. It's always great to have your expert baseball analyst.
Thanks, guys.
Stay tuned. Coming up, we have some talk about Texas softball.
Thank you for tuning in. Welcome back to College Press Box. It was a close win Wednesday night against Texas State, but Texas pulled it out 3-2. Junior pitcher Tiara Davis got a hot start, retiring 6 of her 7 batters, and senior right fielder Holly Kern got the Horns on the board 1-0. However, the Bobcats bounced back to take a lead 2-1 in the third. However, Lindsey Stevens would hit a 2-run home run to take the lead 3-2 and seal the victory for the Horns.
Texas softball had a slow start in their weekend series against BYU on Friday, losing 3-1, but they were able to come back and take the series on Saturday. Texas was able to shut out BYU 5-0 in the first game of the doubleheader and again 7-0 in the second game. Sophomore pitcher Paige Von Sprecken tossed a 2-hit shutout in the final game to tally her 8th win of the season. Senior center fielder Lindsey Stevens helped power Texas's 12-hit offense, going 2 for 2 with 2 runs scored, 2 walks, 11 doubles, and her second home run of the season and 3 RBIs. Texas improved to 22-9 with the wins this weekend. So back at it again with Reese Miller analyzing softball for us. So what do you make of this season so far, Reese?
It's been interesting to say the least. I think Erica Wright was supposed to be their ace pitcher and again, sort of on the fringe of the top 25, but what was different about this year is Connie Clark openly talked in preseason media functions that she expected this team to head back to the College World Series where they were 2 years ago. She really thought this roster was cut out. They got the news sprung on them a week before the opener. Erica Wright would be missing some significant time, so it's been an adjustment period because they don't have that ace to rely on. Tiara Davis has done a nice job filling in overall, but it's certainly not the 1-2 punch Texas was expecting. It's been a bit of an up and down season so far, but heck, they're 22-9 so far. And just think about how many games that is. At one point, they were playing almost a game every single day. So I think it had a little bit of wear and tear on this lineup overall, but Lindsey Stevens is putting together another terrific season, hitting well over 400. Anytime you have that dynamic of a player at the top of your lineup that can hit it out of the yard, you're going to be just fine. So it's been interesting so far. Only the one Big 12 series where they really gave away 2 games at Baylor in Waco. I think that's really the only problem that's gone on so far. So right now they're at the bottom of the Big 12, but if you look at their overall resume of the season, they're doing all right.
What about you, Matt? What do you have to say about Texas softball?
Yeah, I think, going to game more into conference play at this point, that's going to help them a lot, kind of boosting them in the standings. But being at 22-9 at this point, it's just like it very much feels like cleaning up some things. Yes, I know Erica Wright's been out, but having Tiara Davis, Paige Von Sprecken, they've really stepped up. Davis has 12 wins on the season, so that's impressive. But we have this lineup. Reese hit it with Lindsey Stevens, but when you add Stephanie Seo, Stephanie Wong, they have a good offensive rotation there that can get a lot of scores going. And that for Texas going through the rest of this season is going to be crucial.
So, Reese, there's a crucial stretch of games coming up for this team. How do you think they'll fare?
Well, it'll be interesting to see for sure. Their next 5 weekends actually are in Big 12 play, 2 of the next 3 series being at home, and that's really the crucial stretch of the games and I think the defining moment of this season. Right now, Texas has a good enough resume to get into the tournament at the end of the season. What they want is to earn the right to host a regional. Right now, not quite in that range. They're a little bit outside looking in on the top 25 in the country, but they've got a real chance here coming up playing some good, solid Big 12 opponents. And it's really going to be up to Tiara Davis to seeing what she can do, pitching both games against Baylor. And it was actually a wild pitch that gave the Lady Bears the first win of that series and kind of set the tone. So I think that's something to look out for. Matt, you brought up an interesting point with Stephanie Seo and Stephanie Wong. The pair of Stephanies haven't been performing as this offense would like to. Stephanie Wong actually has been out of the lineup for a few games. Seo has been dropped to 9th. That's a combination that Texas needs to produce in the middle of the order to go along with Holly Kern, Devin Tunning, and Selena Felix, along with the rest of this Texas offense, Tiara Davis included. So I think Texas is going to make a real run here. I feel pretty confident, especially if they can get Erica Wright back. Then this team could really take off. Until then, it's probably top 3 in the Big 12, but in terms of winning the conference, they're going to need Erica Wright back to do that.
What do you think they need to do going forward, Matt?
Yeah, for them, the real concern for Texas is teams like Oklahoma and Baylor. After that, you feel like they should be able to hang in there with every other Big 12 team, but those 2 in particular are going to be the ones that are going to be the biggest fits going forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thanks again, Reese, for joining us. Always glad to have you on board here.
Hey, thanks, guys. Always a great time.
And don't go away, folks. We still got track, tennis, and golf. All this and more on College Press Box.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Thanks for staying with us on this fine evening. Elite performances and broken records were everywhere at the Texas Relays this weekend. The four-day meet finished out this Saturday and saw over 7,500 athletes, a record number for the meet in its 89th season. Sean Barber, 2015 NCAA champion and Texas Relays record holder, set the top outdoor mark in the world for 2016 with a jump of 5.91 meters in the men's elite pole vault division. The boys 4x800 team from Houston Strake Jesuit ran a 7:41.58 to break a record from 1980. Numerous records were also set in the girls' 100-meter hurdles and the men's long jump. Many Olympic trial standards were met throughout the weekend, including former Longhorn Morgan Goodwin, who ran a 13:0 to win the women's invitational 100-meter hurdles.
While the attention was on the Texas Relays this weekend, a couple of teams traveled to the West Coast for the Stanford Invitational and the San Francisco State Distance Carnival. Sandy Raines made her season debut in the 5,000 meters and finished 12th overall. Nate Moore ran his first steeplechase and finished 5th place. Over at the San Francisco State Distance Carnival, Eric Kroon ran the 10,000 meter and finished 17th, while Hannah Grubb took 11th in the women's 5,000, and this was her first 5,000 outdoor run of her career.
Men's golf took second at the Augusta Invitational this Sunday. Junior Bo Hostler won his 5th tournament of the season and 6th of his career to lead Texas Golf to finish their runner-up finish. Hostler moved into 2nd place on the all-time season wins list in Texas men's golf history, only trailing Ben Crenshaw's 7 wins in 1972. Hostler led by 1 stroke after the first 2 rounds, but fell back after making a bogey on the 3rd hole. He rallied with an eagle on 9 and made a birdie on 14. He sealed the win with another birdie on 18. He won by 2 strokes with a 3rd round 69, following a pair of 68s on the first day. The Longhorns will conclude their regular season at the Maxwell at Dornick Hills Golf Club on April 15th and 16th.
Against UT San Antonio, the Texas men's tennis swept the Roadrunners in both the afternoon and evening matches. In the afternoon, Texas clinched a victory, winning 5-2, relying on the doubles play. Later that evening, Texas only picked up 1 doubles win in the first 2 positions, but relied on singles with Adrian Ortiz, Connor Mee, and Johnny Goodwin as they closed off the night with victories and Texas winning 4-0. Texas will resume play on Tuesday against conference opponent Baylor.
The number 34 Texas women's tennis team knocked off Oklahoma by a 4-1 count Sunday afternoon at UT's Whitaker tennis courts. Texas's 17th-ranked doubles team, Brianna Honorson and Danny Wagland, dealt OU's Lily Mizaki and Emma Devine a 6-1 defeat before OU answered at the 2nd slot. Oklahoma took the next 5 games in the next doubles match and closed out a 7-5 win. UT's Chelsea Crovetti and Katie Pulta were able to close out a 7-5 win in the 3rd doubles match to take the doubles point for the Longhorns. Texas also clinched a 4-1 singles victory before the remaining matches were suspended.
At the 43rd annual San Diego Crew Classic, number 9 Texas posted top 2 finishes in all 5 of the finals. In Sunday's competition, it was crucial for Texas to do well in 3 of the races that go towards NCAA championships. In the first 2 races, the Longhorns finished 2nd behind California, and then Texas would finish in another 2 of the matches. In the women's grand final, however, Texas would seal a victory. And when we come back, excuse me there, Amanda, we'll talk more football and a little MLB action. Stick around, folks. Speaking with College Press Box, Texas spring football is going on. Recruits and signees are visiting, but Texas still has some quarterback issues to face. Mark Skoll Jr. was there for the latest.
Spring is officially here, which means football is back in Austin, and Texas head coach Charlie Strong is fired up and ready to go.
I am ready to go, and you're right. This is a critical year for us. This is our third year, and you know, it's time. There's a standard here, and we need to meet that standard. And we have, but you know, the first 2 years are behind us, but it's time for us to move forward now. Feel like you got the guys in place, and we still knowing that, you know, this spring we still got to build at some positions, but it's about moving it forward.
Perhaps the most important question going into spring practice for the Texas Longhorns is who will start under center. It could be senior Tyrone Swoops, Gerard Hurd, or maybe even true freshman Shane Buechele. At this point, nobody knows, but it's a question Charlie Strong wants answered before spring ends.
It'll be enough reps where we'll know fairly quickly who the guy will be, because it's the way we practice and the tempo that we're going to practice at. I think you'll be able to see it. Sterling will be whomever he's comfortable enough with, and he'll be able to know that not right away, but we'll give the guys enough reps where he'll be able to place him in that position. Then he can just say, hey, this is the guy we got to go with. Let's go with it and make it happen. The team is going to go as a quarterback goes, and we just got to make sure that we have the numbers there. Now it's about who's going to really step up and be that guy, because the numbers are there. Now it's about who's that guy. It's, you know, can it be Swoops? Can it be Hurd? I mean, who is it going to be? Can it be Buechele? Will he be the guy? But who's that guy there at that position?
Mark Skoll Jr., College Press Box.
The MLB season is gearing up. It's opening day today, and of course, everything about Longhorn sports on this show. It's fitting we talk about Texas players in the league. Matt, what do you have to say about some of the players in the league this season?
Well, for me right now, Taylor Youngman's the first one that stands out. Has strong career here at Texas, has really struggled here getting into the league, bounced back between the minors and stuff. But he'll get a chance to start on Wednesday for the Brewers. Matt Garza is not. Youngman will replace him, and he will go up against Jeff Samardzija and the Giants, so that'll be a great matchup. Unfortunately for a Texas player, he will not be seeing the field for a while, and that is Taylor Teetgarden. A strong catcher, but with his performance-enhancing drug problems, he will have to sit out the first 80 games here.
That's unfortunate.
But, of course, a fan favorite for a lot of Texas baseball, Houston Street. Have to be excited for him. A solid career so far, and something to look forward to.
Yeah, I definitely think we can look forward to him. He's an all-star. He has had a great career in the MLB so far. I'm looking forward to see what he can do this season.
Yeah. Now we're going to shift gears here a little bit for Texas, and we're going to take a look at some of the action happening this week. On Tuesday, softball will take on UTEP at 4:30, and it will be on the Longhorn Network. Men's tennis plays Baylor at 6 p.m. Baseball versus Texas A&M at Corpus Christi, 7 p.m. on the Longhorn Network. Softball versus UTEP, 7 p.m. on LHN. And Wednesday, also softball will travel to UTSA, and that will be at 6 p.m.
On Friday, on the 8th, we have women's tennis at Texas Tech at 5 p.m., men's tennis versus Oklahoma State at 6 p.m., softball versus Texas Tech at 6 p.m. That'll be on Longhorn Network, and baseball at Kansas State at 6:30 p.m. Again, on Friday, on that Sunday, we have women's golf at Ping ASU Invitational.
And on Saturday, softball takes on Texas Tech at 1 p.m. on the Longhorn Network. Baseball travels to Kansas State. That will be at 2 p.m. Track and field will be at the Baylor Invitational. Volleyball will be at the FAST tournament in Houston. Sunday, women's tennis will be at TCU, and that will be at 11 a.m. Softball versus Texas Tech at 12 p.m. You can see that on the Longhorn Network. Baseball at Kansas State. That will be at 1 p.m. And then we wrap up with men's tennis versus Oklahoma at 1, and then later against Prairie View A&M at 5 o'clock.
And before we go, I think we need to talk about a Texas prospect, Dylan Moses. He just released that Texas is his #1 spot. He's also competing with, he's also looking at Bama, LSU, USC, and UCLA. He's a linebacker from Baton Rouge. He's a 5-star recruit, and he announced Texas has his #1 spot. He just visited, and after seeing it, he said he wanted to live in Texas. He wanted to live in Houston after college, so Texas would be a great place for him, and it would be a great add to Texas's defense in 2017. With the way Charlie Strong's recruiting after this season, I don't see why he really couldn't get him if next season doesn't go, or goes at least slightly better than this past season. Because, I mean, Charlie was still able to recruit pretty solidly with the season they had this year.
Right, and if you think if they land him to have him with Malik Jefferson, Jeffrey McCulloch, and him, that would be impressive. But we have to remember, this kid has been coveted since the 8th grade. This kid has been so popular. He has kind of been high school football for, the high school football version of LeBron James in some aspects. This kid is very athletic, but he's still in SEC country. LSU will still be going heavily after him. No question Alabama, and possibly even Ole Miss. So Texas can be very happy, but still a long ways to go before National Signing Day.
Yeah, and I mean, he's from Baton Rouge, so I feel like that's a pretty hard steal for Texas, but it would be awesome if it could happen.
It would be.
Be a big benefit to this defense. So before we go, national championship coming up tonight. Who do you have, Matt?
UNC, Villanova. I kind of want to see Villanova at this point win it all.
Really? I kind of want to see UNC. They're a dominant powerhouse. Be great to see the blue and the white get it again.
I just at this point want to see UNC get upset.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, that's all we have for this weekend's episode of College Press Box. You can catch us every Monday night at 9:30, and make sure to follow us on Twitter for the latest updates on Texas sports at College Press Box. For the best live sports debate on the 40 acres, watch College Crossfire with the one and only Reese Miller as your host Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. You can also follow them on Twitter at College Xfire. From everyone in the studio, Master Control, Matt, and myself, have a wonderful night.